Lawmakers did not decide on whether to expel Arizona State Representative Daniel Patterson today, one that used similar tactics to the controversial Fast and Furious. The city of San Luis sits at the very edge of the U.S.-Mexican border. To see how this country is dealing with birthright issues, was the first congressional staffer to be murdered while performing his official duties. But it's this budget that has them butting heads with the governor. Arizona has been both praised and slammed for its tough stance on immigration. 1 in 6 Americans will get sick from foodborne illness this year. And for many, they'll get it from local produce. It's at this very Safeway where people say Daniel Hernandez became a national hero, but that's a word he doesn't like to use. And now Arizona's researchers and patients alike say they hope this extra support will translate into actual results. In Washington, D.C., live in the Washington Bureau, live in Birmingham, Alabama, live in the Online Bureau, live in Phoenix, I'm Nathan O'Neill, Cronkite News. Congressman Grijalva was joined by 9 other Democratic House members on this trip to Alabama. They began meeting this morning with people affected by the tough new law, and tonight they'll end the day with a rally.
Coming from Arizona, the experiences that we've had with 1070 lead me to try to explain to people that there's consequences as you go along with this.
Arizona Representative Raul Grijalva traveled to Birmingham, Alabama with other House Democrats today to hold a hearing about the negative impacts of Alabama's immigration law.
What's happening in Alabama is not just about Alabama, as it wasn't just about Arizona. This is a national issue.
Grijalva met with people who have been directly affected by Alabama's HB 56, a controversial immigration law that has been called even tougher than Arizona's SB 1070. The law requires local police to question legal status in routine stops, as well as public school officials to report students' immigration status. But that's been put on hold by the courts. But the people of Alabama have a mixed reaction to the law.
It does need to be addressed, but not in the haphazard way it's being addressed here.
Obtain a legal status or you need to be gone.
Antonio Miranda, who is an illegal immigrant, says the law has affected his children, who were born in the U.S. and are citizens.
They are scared. Some people from there, they say, hey, you are illegal, you need to go to Mexico, it's no place for you.
The 16th Street Baptist Church was bombed in 1963, marking a pivotal moment in the civil rights movement. And today, critics of the Alabama immigration law say it's a perfect place to start their movement.
There's a struggle that is historic, that changed the very character of this country.
As for Grijalva, he says that a simple solution to all this is for the federal government to come up with comprehensive immigration reform. As a new day emerges over the desert,
we don't talk about a lot of taboo issues.
The people from the Navajo reservation are being forced to talk about some tough issues.
They think that if they don't talk about it, that it's not going to happen to them.
But this quiet, isolated community is now having to deal with a big city problem. A problem Jerry Archuleta knows all too well.
This is one of my HIV meds.
He's one of a growing number of HIV cases among the Navajo people.
At first it was, frightening.
Jerry and his partner Emerson Scott were like many others when first hearing the news.
As we learned more about it, we began to understand, that it wasn't necessarily a death sentence for us.
But getting that message out is a challenge here on the reservation.
They kind of look at it as a curse.
While the Navajo community is the largest Native American reservation in the U.S., money for education about HIV is scarce, and that's a huge problem as cases start to soar. The Center for Disease Control says that of the 5,000 Native Americans living with HIV in the U.S., almost 1 in 4 don't even know that they have it, which is 5% greater than the national average. And that's especially a problem for some of the people who come to the Indian Health Center in Gallup, New Mexico. Here, Dr. Jonathan Earloo treats HIV patients and says people are shocked when he diagnoses them with HIV.
When I first came here, we used to say, oh, HIV is a disease that you acquire in the big city. You move back home to these rural areas and you bring the disease here.
But now it's spreading on the reservation itself. There's been a doubling of new HIV cases in the past 10 years, 35 to 40 new cases each year.
We think our numbers are a lot greater.
And that scares Melvin Harrison, who is passionate about preventing HIV from becoming an epidemic on the reservation. Director of the Navajo AIDS Network in Chinle, Arizona, he travels to the far reaches of the reservation, providing cultural and medical support for those who need it. He blames the extreme poverty, isolation, and lack of education for the spread of the virus.
We're trying to say HIV is a big thing here, our numbers are doubling. They're not hearing that because, there's so many other issues they're dealing with.
So Melvin travels the reservation, helping out one person at a time. Melvin and Jerry, 2 men connected by more than just friendship, both trying to make sure that this disease stops taking lives on the reservation.
I wish I had done things differently, but then I'm kind of glad that you know, it has turned out the way it has simply because it gives me an opportunity to help somebody else.
On the Navajo Reservation, I'm Nathan O'Neill, Cronkite News.
It's noisy and sweaty and excellent.
A fierce voice on stage.
Good morning, Tavi. I'm Judge Lauren Walker. This is the Gilbert Municipal Court.
A calm voice of reason on the bench.
The minimum sentence you can face if you're convicted is nothing. We see everything from a speeding ticket all the way up to domestic violence.
Judge Nicole Lauren Walker has two passions.
I've still got a microphone. still got the public there every morning looking at me, and sometimes the crowd's the same.
5 days a week, she dons her judge's robe and the responsibility to hear criminal cases at the Gilbert Municipal Court.
In the courtroom, she's very quiet. It's a quiet control, a good control.
On the weekends, the wardrobe changes, and so does the tone, as Nicole takes the mic as the lead singer of the world-traveling Love Me Nots.
It's kind of shocking the first time I saw it to see her go from this wild keyboard banging rock and roller to this very straight-laced.
I've always lived these two lives, so to me it's just one life.
This stage of her life started with law school, a law career, and 15 years ago, a new opportunity as a judge. But it's her singing career that has taken her all over the country, across Europe, even landing her a spread on Rolling Stone France. Her husband Michael finds himself on stage too, a familiar setting where they first met.
She was very intense, playing very hard, and really, her heart was in it.
But the courtroom holds a piece of her heart as well.
I mean, I don't feel like I'm a different person in either place. I'm just who I am, so it flows pretty easily.
A divide that sticks to formalities.
She is Judge Lauren Walker. That is who she is to me. But in the evenings, when I go to concerts, it's Nicole.
It's all part of the human experience. I'm hearing it all day and I'm living it at night.
Because when it comes down to it, for Nicole, both lives are about people.
It's all part of the storytelling. Trying to get into somebody's shoes and into their head and trying to understand what makes them go and trying to feel what they feel. I think it's a domestic.
Finding her voice both off and on the stage. In Gilbert, Arizona, I'm Nathan O'Neill, Cronkite News.